The moment Lily Martinez stepped into the Grand Belmore Hotel's ballroom, arms loaded with ivory roses and eucalyptus garlands, she locked eyes with the most striking man she had ever seen standing near the altar, and something in her chest flipped in a way that made her nearly drop every single flower. She recovered quickly, forcing herself to look away as heat crept up her neck. This was her job. She had no business getting flustered over wedding guests, especially not groomsmen who probably dated models and socialites. Lily had been working as a florist specializing in weddings for 3 years now, and she prided herself on her professionalism. Today was the Henderson Walsh wedding, one of the biggest events her boss had trusted her to handle solo, and she needed to focus. "Those arrangements are stunning," a warm voice said from behind her. Lily turned to find the same man approaching, now close enough that she could see his eyes were a deep brown, almost amber in the ballroom's golden lighting. He wore his tuxedo like it was custom-made, which it probably was, and his dark hair was styled perfectly without looking overly done. He had the kind of presence that filled a room, confident without being arrogant. "Thank you," she managed, setting down the garlands carefully on a nearby table. "I hope they match what the bride envisioned. If they don't, she needs her vision checked." He smiled, and it was genuine, reaching his eyes in a way that made her stomach do another unwelcome flip. "I'm Adrian Hayes, friend of the groom. Lily Martinez. I'm with Petal and Stem Floral Design." She wiped her hand on her work apron before offering it, suddenly conscious of the soil under her fingernails and the simple cotton dress she wore beneath the apron. His handshake was firm, warm, and lasted just a fraction longer than necessary. "How long have you been doing this?" "Wedding flowers. About 3 years professionally, but I have been around flowers my whole life. My grandmother had a garden that could rival any botanical park." Lily found herself relaxing slightly. There was something disarming about him, the way he actually seemed interested rather than just making small talk. That explains the talent. Adrian glanced at the garlands she had brought in. These looked like they were grown specifically for this wedding. Some of them were, actually. "We have relationships with local growers who cultivate specific varieties when we know we have major events coming up." She caught herself before she launched into a full explanation of their sourcing process. He was probably just being polite, but I should get back to work. "The ceremony starts in 2 hours and I still have the arch to finish and all the reception centerpieces to set up. Of course, I will let you work your magic." He stepped back but didn't walk away immediately. "Maybe I will see you at the reception." Lily felt that flutter again. "I am usually gone before the reception starts. Early mornings, you know." Something flickered across his face, disappointment maybe, but he nodded. "Well, it was nice meeting you, Lily Martinez. You too, Adrian Hayes." She watched him walk back toward a group of other groomsmen, all equally well-dressed, all laughing at something one of them said. Then she shook her head firmly and got back to work. Men like that didn't actually pursue women like her. He was probably just friendly, the kind of person who talked to everyone. The ceremony was beautiful. Lily stayed in the back, making sure every arrangement held up under the photographer's lights and the warmth of 200 guests packed into the ballroom. She had outdone herself with the arch, white roses and peonies cascading down in a natural, organic style that looked effortless, but had taken her 90 minutes to perfect. When the bride walked down the aisle, Lily saw tears in several guests' eyes, and she allowed herself a moment of pride. She was packing up her supplies when Adrian found her again. "You are not staying." He had loosened his bow tie, and somehow that made him even more attractive, not usually part of the package. Lily secured a box of leftover ribbon. "Besides, I have another wedding tomorrow morning." 6 a.m. setup. That is dedication. He leaned against the doorframe, watching her work with an intensity that made her hyper-aware of every movement. "Do you ever get tired of weddings?" "Sometimes," she admitted. "When you see the same venue, the same traditions, the same drunken toasts, it can blur together. But then there are moments like today, when the groom tears up seeing his bride, or when the flower girl actually makes it down the aisle without eating the petals, and I remember why I love it." Adrian laughed, a rich sound that made her smile in response. "The flower girl ate the petals at the Morrison wedding last month. Every single rose petal in her basket. Her mom was mortified, but everyone else thought it was adorable." Lily closed the last box and straightened, pushing a strand of dark hair behind her ear. "You must think I am ridiculous, getting sentimental over other people's weddings." "Not at all." His expression was serious now. "I think it is refreshing. Most people I know are pretty cynical about marriage." "Are you?" The question slipped out before she could stop it. He considered it. "I was not sure until today, but watching Marcus up there, seeing how happy he is, it made me think maybe it is possible to find that." His eyes met hers. "The right person changes everything, I suppose." The moment stretched between them, charged with something Lily could not quite name. Then her phone buzzed with a reminder about tomorrow's early start, and the spell broke. "I really do need to go," she said reluctantly. "Can I help you carry anything to your car?" She should have said no. Should have maintained that professional boundary. But instead she heard herself say, "That would be nice, actually." They made 2 trips to her van, a somewhat battered white vehicle with the petal and stem logo painted on the side. Adrian did not complain about the weight of the boxes or the bits of greenery that probably got on his expensive tuxedo. He just helped, making easy conversation about the wedding, about the venue, about nothing and everything. "Well, thank you," Lily said as she closed the van's back doors. "You are officially the most helpful groomsman I have ever encountered." "Happy to break the mold." He pulled out his phone. "This might be forward, but could I get your number? I would like to take you to dinner." Lily's heart raced. "I do not think that is a good idea." "Why not?" "Because you are clearly out of my league, and I do not really have time for games." The words came out more bluntly than she intended, but she was tired of getting her hopes up over men who saw her as a temporary novelty. Adrian's expression shifted, something like hurt crossing his face. "I am not playing games. I saw you today, really saw you, and I would like to get to know you better. No pressure, no expectations, just dinner." She wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to. "I work most weekends, weddings, you know." "What about Tuesday? Is Tuesday good?" Despite every self-protective instinct screaming at her to decline, Lily found herself nodding. Tuesday could work. His smile was incandescent. "Tuesday it is. I will text you." She gave him her number, watching as he carefully entered it into his phone and immediately sent her a message so she would have his. Then he waited as she climbed into her van, gave her a small wave, and headed back toward the hotel. Lily sat in the driver's seat for a full minute, trying to process what had just happened. She had been asked out before, of course, but never by someone like Adrian. Someone who looked like he stepped out of a magazine spread, who carried himself with that particular kind of confidence that came from never having to worry about money or status or fitting in. She drove home to her small apartment in a slightly run-down neighborhood, her mind spinning with possibilities and warnings in equal measure. Her roommate, Jessica, was on the couch watching a crime documentary when Lily walked in. "How was the wedding?" Jessica asked without looking away from the screen. "I met someone." Lily dropped her bag and collapsed into the armchair. "And I think I might have made a mistake." That got Jessica's attention. She paused the show and turned. "Details. Now." Lily recounted the entire encounter, from that first moment of eye contact to the exchange of phone numbers in the parking lot. Jessica listened with growing excitement. "This is amazing. Why do you think it is a mistake?" "Because he is clearly wealthy, Jess. You should have seen his watch. It probably cost more than I make in 6 months. What am I supposed to talk about over dinner? My student loans. My van that barely passes inspection. You talk about flowers and weddings and your life because you are interesting and talented, and any man would be lucky to date you." Jessica's tone was fierce. "Do not talk yourself out of this before it even starts. I am being realistic. You are being scared. There is a difference." Lily knew her roommate was right, but that did not make the anxiety easier to manage. She had been raised by a single mother who worked 2 jobs, had put herself through community college while working full-time at a flower shop, and had built her career through sheer determination and talent. She was proud of what she had accomplished, but she also knew how the world worked. People like Adrian did not end up with people like her outside of romantic comedies. Still, when her phone buzzed later that night with a message from an unknown number, her heart leaped. "It was great meeting you today. Already looking forward to Tuesday." Adrian, she stared at the message for a long time before typing back. "Same. Get some sleep, groomsman." His response came immediately. "Only if you do too, flower girl." She fell asleep smiling despite her better judgment. The next wedding was at a vineyard an hour outside the city, a smaller, more intimate affair with lots of wildflowers and rustic charm. Lily was arranging mason jars filled with daisies and lavender when her phone rang. She almost ignored it, but something made her check the caller ID. Adrian. "Hello. I know you are working, and I promise to be quick. I just realized I asked you to dinner without knowing if you have any dietary restrictions or favorite cuisines. I am trying to make a reservation and thought I should check." The thoughtfulness of it caught her off guard. "Oh. No restrictions, and I am not picky, honestly. Everyone has preferences." His voice was warm, a little teasing. "Come on, help me out here." "I really like Italian food," she admitted, "but nothing too fancy. I do not want to feel like I need to dress up beyond what I own." "Noted. Casual Italian it is. How is 7 on Tuesday?" "7 works." "Perfect. I will pick you up. Text me your address." After they hung up, Lily stood holding her phone, a mix of excitement and terror swirling in her stomach. The bride appeared then, asking about the bookcase, and Lily forced herself back into work mode. She had a job to do, and she prided herself on never letting personal matters interfere with her professionalism. The weekend blurred past with 2 more weddings, each with its own dramas and triumphs. A groom who forgot the rings. A mother-in-law who hated the chosen color scheme. A best man who gave a speech so touching that even Lily, who had heard hundreds of toasts, felt tears prick her eyes. Through it all, she found herself thinking about Tuesday, about Adrian, about the possibility that maybe, just maybe, this could be something real. Tuesday arrived too quickly and not quickly enough. Lily changed outfits 4 times before settling on a simple navy dress that Jessica swore made her look elegant without trying too hard. She kept her makeup natural, added small gold earrings her grandmother had given her, and was ready by 6:30, pacing her apartment and second-guessing everything. When Adrian knocked at exactly 7, her heart nearly exploded. He looked different in jeans and a gray Henley, more relaxed but no less attractive. His eyes lit up when she opened the door. "You look beautiful. You look pretty good yourself for someone who is not wearing a tuxedo." She grabbed her purse, suddenly eager to get moving before her nerves could talk her out of this. The restaurant he chose was perfect, a small Italian place in a neighborhood she had never visited. It had exposed brick walls, candlelight, and the smell of fresh bread and garlic that made her mouth water immediately. Nothing pretentious, nothing that made her feel out of place. "This is lovely," she said as they were seated at a corner table. "I am glad you think so. It is family-owned, been here for 30 years. Best carbonara in the city, according to basically everyone who has ever eaten here." Adrian settled into his chair, seeming genuinely pleased that she approved. They ordered, and then there was that moment of silence that could either turn awkward or open into real conversation. Adrian leaned forward slightly. "Tell me something about you that I could not find out from a basic conversation." Lily thought about it. "I am terrified of birds." He blinked. "Birds, specifically pigeons and seagulls. Had a traumatic incident at a park when I was 6. A seagull stole my entire hot dog right out of my hand, and a pigeon flew directly into my face about 2 seconds later. I have been wary ever since." Adrian laughed, and it was such a genuine, delighted sound that Lily found herself laughing too. "That is both hilarious and tragic. Your turn. Tell me something real." His expression turned more thoughtful. "I hate what I do for a living." The admission hung in the air. Lily waited, sensing there was more. "I work in finance," Adrian continued. "Hedge fund management, specifically. I am good at it, make a lot of money doing it, but I find it completely soulless. Every day is about numbers and profits and beating the market, and none of it feels like it matters. Not in any real way." "Why do you do it then?" "Family expectations. My father built the company, my older brother runs it now, and I was always supposed to be part of that legacy. I went to the right schools, got the right degrees, followed the right path." He paused as their appetizers arrived, waiting until the server left before continuing. "But lately I have been wondering what would happen if I just stopped, if I did something that actually made me happy. What would that be? I have no idea. That is the terrifying part." He smiled ruefully. "Sorry, this is pretty heavy for a first date. I asked for something real. You delivered." Lily took a bite of the bruschetta, and it was incredible. "For what it is worth, I think it is brave to even ask those questions. Most people just accept their circumstances." "Is that what you do?" "Accept circumstances. I make flowers beautiful for weddings. It is not changing the world, but it makes people happy on one of the most important days of their lives. That feels like enough most days." She considered her words carefully. "I grew up without much money. My mom worked constantly just to keep us afloat, so having a career I actually enjoy, even if it is not making me rich, feels like a victory. That is not settling. That is knowing what matters to you." Adrian's gaze was intense, focused entirely on her. "It is actually really impressive." They talked through dinner, through dessert, through 2 cups of coffee each. Lily learned that Adrian was 28, that he had a sister he adored who was a doctor in Seattle, that he played piano but never performed for anyone, that he had traveled to 30 countries, but his favorite place was a tiny village in Portugal that most tourists never visited. Adrian learned that Lily was 26, that her grandmother had passed away 2 years ago, and she still missed her every day, that she wanted to open her own flower shop eventually, that she had never left the country but dreamed of seeing the tulip fields in Amsterdam. When the restaurant staff started giving them pointed looks about closing time, they finally left, both surprised to discover it was nearly 11. "I cannot remember the last time I talked to someone for 4 hours straight," Adrian said as they walked to his car, a sleek black sedan that probably cost more than Lily's entire year's salary. "Same. I kept waiting for that moment when the conversation dies and everything gets awkward, but it never came." He opened her door, waited until she was settled, then drove her home through mostly empty streets. When they reached her building, he parked and turned to her. "Can I see you again?" "I would like that." The answer came easily without the hesitation she had felt before. "When is your next free day?" "Sunday evening. I have a wedding in the afternoon, but I should be done by 5. "Perfect. I will plan something." He got out and walked her to her building's entrance. "Thank you for tonight, Lily, for giving me a chance." She smiled up at him. "Thank you for being worth the chance." He kissed her then, soft and brief but full of promise, and Lily felt that flutter in her chest transform into something brighter, something that felt dangerously close to hope. Over the next 3 weeks, they fell into a pattern. Adrian would text her good morning messages that made her smile over her coffee. She would send him photos of particularly beautiful arrangements or funny wedding mishaps. They would meet whenever her schedule allowed, for dinners and walks through the city, and one memorable afternoon at a botanical garden, where Lily gave him an impromptu education on different rose varieties, and he listened like she was sharing the secrets of the universe. The 4th Saturday after they met, Lily was working a massive wedding at the Grand Belmore, the same hotel where they had first encountered each other. It was a high society affair, the kind with a guest list full of prominent names and a budget that made her usual weddings look modest. She was in the ballroom, making final adjustments to the centerpieces, when she heard a familiar voice. "Fancy meeting you here, flower girl." She spun around to find Adrian walking toward her, wearing another perfectly tailored tuxedo. Her confusion must have shown on her face because he smiled. "I am in the wedding. Groomsman for Robert Cassidy. We went to college together." "You are kidding." Lily looked around the elaborate ballroom at the hundreds of white orchids she had spent 2 days arranging, at the crystal and gold everywhere. "This is the Cassidy-Chen wedding. The one and only." He reached her side, and she was hyper-aware of the other vendors and early-arriving guests who might be watching. "You did all of this?" "With my team, yes. It has been intense." She adjusted an orchid that had shifted slightly. "I did not know you would be here." "I did not put it together until this morning. Robert mentioned the florist's name when I was getting dressed, and I thought it sounded familiar." Adrian's voice dropped lower. "Is it weird that I am really happy to see you right now?" "Maybe a little weird given that we are supposed to see each other tomorrow." But she was smiling, unable to help it. "You should go find the other groomsmen. I need to finish up here." "Will you save me a dance at the reception? I am usually gone by then." "Not tonight. Tonight you stay." It was not quite a question, more of a hopeful statement. Lily thought about her empty apartment, about leftover takeout and Netflix. Then she thought about dancing with Adrian in a ballroom filled with flowers she had arranged. "Okay, tonight I stay." His smile was worth every professional boundary she was probably crossing. The ceremony was stunning, as expected. The bride wore a gown that probably cost more than Lily's van and apartment combined, and the groom looked at her like she was the only person in the world. Lily watched from the back as Adrian stood with the other groomsmen, tall and handsome and completely out of her league, and she felt a pang of insecurity. This was his world. These people, this wealth, these expectations. She arranged flowers for weddings like this, but she did not attend them as a guest. She did not know which fork to use for which course, or how to make small talk about summer homes and investment portfolios. But then the ceremony ended, and Adrian found her immediately in the crowd, his eyes seeking her out like she was the only person he wanted to see, and those insecurities faded a little. "You are staying, right?" he asked, slightly breathless from walking quickly through the crowd. "I am staying." She had changed in the hotel bathroom, swapping her work clothes for the simple black dress she had brought along, just in case. It was not designer, and her shoes were from a discount store, but Adrian looked at her like She was the most beautiful woman in the room. The reception was overwhelming in the best way. Lily sat at a table with some of the vendors she had worked with, but Adrian kept finding excuses to come over, to bring her champagne, to introduce her to his college friends, to ask if she wanted to see the garden where some of the cocktail hour was taking place. They ended up outside, away from the noise and crowd, standing near a fountain lit by carefully placed spotlights. "Your flowers are the star of this whole event," Adrian said. "Everyone is talking about them." "That is an exaggeration." "It is not. I have heard at least 10 people ask who did the arrangements. The bride's mother has been gushing about the orchids for the past hour." He moved closer. "You are incredibly talented, Lily. I know you probably do not hear that enough." She looked up at him, at the sincerity in his eyes, and felt something shift in her chest. "You are not what I expected." "What did you expect?" "I do not know. Someone more superficial, I guess. Someone who would have lost interest by now." She wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly vulnerable. "I keep waiting for you to realize I do not fit in your world." Adrian was quiet for a long moment. "Can I tell you something? That first day when I saw you in the ballroom with those roses, you looked so focused, so completely in your element. And then when you smiled at me, it was like the whole room got brighter. I have been around wealth my entire life, Lily. I have dated women who had the right pedigree and the right connections and the right everything, and none of them made me feel like you do. How do I make you feel? Like maybe I have been settling for a life that does not actually fit me. Like there is more to want than what I have always thought I should want." He reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "Like I could be happy." Lily's breath caught. "Adrian, I am falling for you. I need you to know that. This is not casual for me." "It has not been casual since the moment we met." She should have been scared. It was too fast, too intense, too much. But instead she felt certain, like every flower she had ever arranged had been leading her to this moment, to this man, to this feeling. "I am falling for you too." He kissed her then, properly this time, his hands cupping her face as she wrapped her arms around his neck. The fountain bubbled behind them, and somewhere in the distance, the band played something soft and romantic, and Lily thought that maybe fairy tales did exist, just not in the way she had always imagined. They returned to the reception hand in hand, and if anyone found it odd that a groomsman was so clearly attached to the florist, they were too polite to say anything. Adrian danced with her during the slow songs, introducing her to people as Lily, "the woman I am dating," with a pride in his voice that made her blush every time. Near the end of the night, as the bride and groom were preparing to leave, Adrian's brother found them. "Adrian, there you are. Dad wants to know if you are coming to brunch tomorrow. Apparently there are some investors he wants you to meet." The man, who looked like an older, more severe version of Adrian, barely glanced at Lily. "Tell Dad I have plans," Adrian said firmly. "He is not going to like that." "Then he can be disappointed. Marcus, this is Lily Martinez. Lily, my brother Marcus." Marcus's gaze finally focused on her, assessing in a way that made Lily's spine straighten. "Nice to meet you. You did the flowers." "I did. They are exceptional." He turned back to Adrian. "Seriously, though, about brunch, I said I have plans." Adrian's tone was harder now. "I will talk to Dad next week." Marcus looked like he wanted to argue but thought better of it. He nodded stiffly and walked away, leaving a tense silence in his wake. "Sorry about that," Adrian said quietly. "My family can be intense." "It is fine." But Lily felt that earlier insecurity creeping back. This was his life, his family, his world, and she was clearly not what they expected for him. They left shortly after, Adrian insisting on driving her home despite her protests that she had her van. "I will bring you back to get it tomorrow," he promised. Tonight I just want a little more time with you." In the car, Lily was quiet, processing everything. Adrian seemed to sense her mood. "What are you thinking?" That tonight was wonderful, but also kind of intimidating. "Why intimidating?" "Because I saw your world, Adrian, really saw it, and I do not know if I belong in it." She turned to look at him. "Your brother barely acknowledged me." "What is your father going to think when he finds out you are dating a florist who drives a beat-up van and shares a one-bedroom apartment with a roommate?" Adrian pulled over, parking along a quiet street. He turned to face her fully. "I do not care what my father thinks, or my brother, or anyone else in that ballroom tonight. I care about you, about us, about building something real with someone who actually understands that life is more than money and status. But that is your family, your legacy. Maybe I do not want that legacy. Maybe I want to build my own life, with someone who sees me as more than just a name and a bank account." His intensity was almost overwhelming. "I meant what I said earlier. I am falling for you, Lily, and that means figuring out how to navigate this together. Not running away the first time it gets complicated." She wanted to believe him. She wanted it so badly it hurt. "What if it does not work? What if your family makes this impossible? Then we will deal with it. But I am not giving up on us without even trying. Are you?" Lily thought about her grandmother, who had once told her that the best things in life were worth fighting for. That love was not about ease, but about finding someone worth the effort. She looked at Adrian, at the hope and determination in his eyes, and made a choice. "No, I am not giving up." Relief flooded his face. He kissed her again, softer this time, full of gratitude and promise. "Thank you." They sat in the car for a while longer, talking about nothing and everything, until Lily could barely keep her eyes open. Adrian drove her home, walked her to her door, and kissed her goodnight like she was precious. "I will pick you up at 9 tomorrow to get your van," he said. "And then maybe we can get breakfast. I would like that." She watched him drive away before heading inside, where Jessica was waiting with an expectant expression. "You stayed at the reception." "I stayed at the reception." Lily collapsed on the couch. "And it was perfect and terrifying, and I met his brother, who clearly thinks I am beneath the family standards, and Adrian said he is falling for me." Jessica's eyes widened. He said that. And I said it back because apparently I have lost my mind and my self-preservation instincts." "Or you are in love," Jessica smiled. "It is okay to be happy, Lily. You are allowed to have something good." Lily closed her eyes, letting herself feel the truth of it. She was falling in love with Adrian Hayes, millionaire hedge fund manager, groomsman at every high society wedding, and the most genuine man she had ever met. It was terrifying and exhilarating and completely unexpected, and she would not trade it for anything. The next few months were a blur of stolen moments and navigated complications. Adrian met Jessica, who immediately approved and started planning their future wedding. Lily met Adrian's sister, Caroline, during a video call, and they bonded over their mutual exasperation with the Hayes family's obsession with appearances. Adrian started coming to more of Lily's weddings, not as a groomsman but as her unofficial assistant, carrying heavy boxes and learning the names of different flowers. They did not meet Adrian's parents. That was a source of growing tension between Adrian and his family, though he tried to shield Lily from the worst of it. She could tell, though. Could hear it in the tightness in his voice after phone calls with his father, could see it in the way he sometimes seemed distant after family dinners he attended alone. "You should just introduce me," Lily said one evening as they cooked dinner in her apartment. Adrian had become a regular fixture there, claiming he preferred the cozy space to his sterile downtown loft. "Get it over with." "I will. I just want to do it right." He chopped vegetables with more force than necessary. My father has opinions about everything, and I am trying to figure out how to make him understand that his opinion on my relationship is not welcome. You cannot control how he reacts. I know. But I can control when and how he meets the woman I love, and I want to do it in a way that protects you from his judgment. Adrian set down the knife and turned to her. Wait, did I just say that out loud? Lily's heart stuttered. Say what out loud? That I love you. He looked almost nervous, which was endearing on someone usually so confident. I have been thinking it for weeks, but I wanted to wait for the right moment, and apparently that moment is now in your kitchen while making stir-fry. She laughed, feeling tears prick her eyes. I love you too. So much it scares me sometimes. Adrian crossed to her in 2 strides, pulling her into his arms. We are going to be okay. All of this, the family stuff, the different worlds thing, we will figure it out. I promise. Lily believed him. Or at least she wanted to. The confrontation with Adrian's father came sooner than expected. They were at a wedding, naturally, a smaller event at a historic mansion. Lily was packing up when an older man in an expensive suit approached, flanked by Marcus. You must be Miss Martinez. The man's voice was cold, assessing. I am Charles Hayes, Adrian's father. Lily's stomach dropped, but she kept her expression neutral. Mr. Hayes, nice to meet you. I wish I could say the same. He looked around at the flowers with barely concealed disdain. This is what has been occupying my son's attention for the past several months. I thought perhaps you were at least successful in your field, but this, he gestured dismissively, is hardly impressive. Anger flared in Lily's chest, hot and fierce. With all due respect, Mr. Hayes, Adrian's attention is his own to give, and my work speaks for itself to the people who actually matter. Charles's eyes narrowed. You are after his money. I am after his happiness, which, from where I am standing, you seem determined to undermine. Lily knew she should stop, should be diplomatic, but she was tired of being treated like she was not good enough. Adrian is brilliant and kind and deserving of someone who sees him for who he actually is, not who you think he should be. If you cannot understand that, then that is your failing, not mine. Marcus looked shocked, Charles looked furious, and Adrian, who had just walked into the room, looked proud. Dad. Marcus. What are you doing here? Adrian's voice was hard. We came to meet the woman you have been hiding from us, Charles said. And I can see why you kept her secret. She is completely inappropriate. She is perfect. Adrian moved to stand beside Lily, taking her hand. And I am not hiding her. I was protecting her from exactly this. From your judgment and your archaic ideas about who I should be with. Adrian, be reasonable, Marcus started. No, I am done being reasonable about this. I love Lily. I am building a life with her, and if you cannot accept that, then you and I are going to have a serious problem. Adrian's grip on Lily's hand tightened. She is kind and talented and makes me happier than I have been in years. That should be all that matters. Charles studied them both, his expression unreadable. Finally, he spoke. You are making a mistake. This woman is not part of our world. Then maybe I do not want to be part of that world anymore. Adrian's words rang out in the suddenly silent room. I have been thinking about leaving the company, starting something of my own, living a life that actually means something to me. The shock on his father's and brother's faces was almost comical. Charles recovered first. You are being irrational, throwing away your future for some infatuation. I am being honest for the first time in my adult life. Adrian's voice was steady, certain. And if you cannot support that, then I guess we have nothing more to discuss. He led Lily out of the room, out of the mansion, to his car. Neither of them spoke until they were blocks away. I am sorry, Lily finally said. I should not have confronted him like that. Are you kidding? You were amazing. No one stands up to my father like that. Adrian pulled over again, a habit when they needed to talk, and turned to her. I meant what I said in there, every word. About leaving the company, about all of it. I have been miserable in that job for years, Lily. And meeting you, falling in love with you, it made me realize that life is too short to spend it doing something that makes me feel empty. He took both her hands in his. I want to do something meaningful. Maybe start a nonprofit or invest in small businesses, or honestly, I do not even know yet. But I want to figure it out, and I want to do it with you by my side. Lily felt tears streaming down her face. That is terrifying and brave, and I am so proud of you. Yeah. She leaned across the console to kiss him. We will figure it out together. The next few weeks were chaotic. Adrian gave his notice at the hedge fund, which led to multiple confrontations with his father and brother. Caroline flew in from Seattle to voice her support, which helped but did not fully ease the family tension. Adrian started researching different philanthropic ventures, spending hours talking to nonprofit leaders and social entrepreneurs, slowly building a vision for what came next. Through it all, Lily kept working. She had weddings to handle, flowers to arrange, brides to calm down. But now Adrian was fully part of that world, helping her when he could, learning the business from the inside. He was good at the logistics side, at dealing with vendors and negotiating contracts, at seeing the big picture in a way that complemented Lily's artistic vision. You should really open your own shop, Adrian said one Saturday evening. They were at his loft, which had become less sterile now that Lily had brought plants and artwork and life into it. You are better than your boss, and you know it. That takes capital I do not have. And while I have been doing this long enough to have some savings, it is not enough for a full shop. Lily curled into his side on the couch. Maybe someday. What if I invested? She pulled back to look at him. No, why not? I have the money just sitting there. I want to invest in things that matter, and you matter to me. Your dream matters. I am not taking your money, Adrian. That is not how this works. What if it is a business loan, official terms, interest, the whole thing? He was warming to the idea now, sitting up straighter. You have the talent and experience. I have the capital and business knowledge. We could be partners. You just want to have an excuse to be around flowers all day. That too. But mainly I want to support you in building something that is yours, something we could build together. His expression turned serious. I know you are worried about money and power dynamics and all of that, but this would be legitimate, Lily. A real partnership. You would own the majority, make all the creative decisions. I would just be the investor and maybe the operations manager if you want me. Lily thought about it. About her dream of a shop that focused on sustainable, locally grown flowers. About creating her own wedding packages, training other florists, building something meaningful. About doing it with Adrian as true partners. Can I think about it? Take all the time you need. She thought about it for 2 weeks, consulting with Jessica, running numbers, researching business models. In the end, it was not the financial side that convinced her. It was the realization that Adrian was not trying to save her or control her. He genuinely believed in her talent and wanted to help her succeed on her own terms. Okay, she said one morning over coffee. Let us do it, but I want everything in writing, proper legal agreements, all of it. Adrian's smile was brilliant. I will call my lawyer today. We will do this right. They spent the next 3 months planning. Finding the perfect location, a corner shop in a trendy neighborhood with big windows and good foot traffic. Designing the space to be warm and inviting, with exposed brick and wooden shelves and a large workshop area in the back. Building relationships with local growers to ensure a steady supply of fresh, sustainable flowers. Hiring 2 part-time assistants who shared Lily's vision. The grand opening of Bloom & Co. was on a sunny Saturday in late spring. Caroline flew in for the event. Jessica made a toast about following dreams, and Adrian stood beside Lily as they cut the ribbon, his pride evident to anyone watching. "This is just the beginning," he whispered in her ear. He was right. The shop took off faster than either of them expected. Lily's reputation from her years with petal and stem brought in clients, and her sustainable, artistic approach attracted new ones. Adrian handled the business side with surprising skill, applying his finance background in ways that actually felt meaningful. They made a good team, balancing each other's strengths and weaknesses. 4 months after opening, they got their first major wedding contract, a high-profile event for a local celebrity. It was the validation Lily needed, proof that her vision could compete with the established florists in the city. "We should celebrate," Adrian said when they landed the contract. "What did you have in mind?" "Dinner at that Italian place where we had our first date." It was perfect, full circle in the best way. They dressed up, not because they had to, but because they wanted to, and went back to the small restaurant that held such good memories. Over tiramisu, Adrian reached across the table for her hand. "I have been thinking about something." "That sounds ominous." "It is not ominous, it is just important." He took a breath. "We have been together almost a year now. We have built a business, weathered family drama, navigated different worlds, and through all of it, you have been my partner in every way that matters." Lily's heart started racing. "Adrian, let me finish." He smiled, nervous but determined. "I love you more than I knew it was possible to love someone. You make me laugh, you challenge me to be better. You have shown me what it means to build a life based on passion and purpose rather than expectations. And I want to keep building that life with you, officially and permanently." He pulled a small box from his pocket, opening it to reveal a ring. Not ostentatious, not the massive diamond his family would probably expect, but a beautiful sapphire surrounded by smaller diamonds, elegant and unique. "Lily Martinez, will you marry me?" She was crying, laughing, nodding all at once. "Yes, absolutely yes." He slid the ring onto her finger and it fit perfectly, like it had been made just for her. Then he was around the table, pulling her into his arms, kissing her as the other diners applauded. "I love you," she said against his lips. "I love you so much. I love you too. Forever." They set the wedding for the following spring, wanting to enjoy being engaged and not rush the planning. Lily designed her own flowers, of course, working with seasonal blooms and creating arrangements that felt personal rather than showy. They chose a small venue, a garden that reminded Lily of her grandmother's, intimate and full of life. Adrian's family came, even his father, though Charles remained politely distant. But Caroline was there, and Jessica was the maid of honor, and the friends they had made together filled the space with love and laughter. When Lily walked down the aisle, carrying white peonies and garden roses, Adrian's eyes filled with tears. The ceremony was simple, their vows personal and heartfelt. Adrian promised to support her dreams, to be her partner in all things, to love her exactly as she was. Lily promised to challenge him, to build a life full of meaning together, to choose him every day. When they kissed as husband and wife, it felt like the most natural thing in the world. The reception was held in the same garden, under string lights and surrounded by flowers from their shop. They danced, ate, laughed with their guests. Adrian's best man from college gave a speech about how different Adrian seemed now, how much happier. Jessica talked about watching Lily fall in love and being grateful every day that Adrian had proved worthy of her best friend. Near the end of the night, as they swayed together during the last dance, Adrian murmured, "Thank you." "For what?" "For seeing me, for loving me, for building this beautiful life with me." He pulled back to look at her. I never thought I could have this. Never thought I deserved it. You deserve everything good in this world, Adrian Hayes, and I am going to spend the rest of our lives proving it to you. They moved into a new place together, a house with a backyard where Lily immediately started planning a garden. Bloom & Co. continued to thrive, expanding to include workshops and classes for aspiring florists. Adrian launched his nonprofit, focusing on providing microloans to small businesses in underserved communities, finally finding work that fulfilled him. A year after their wedding, Lily discovered she was pregnant. They cried together in their bathroom, overwhelmed with joy and terror in equal measure. Adrian immediately started baby-proofing everything, reading parenting books, talking to their unborn child through Lily's stomach. Their daughter, Elena Rose, was born on a snowy December morning. She had Lily's dark hair and Adrian's eyes, and from the moment the nurse placed her in Lily's arms, their entire world reoriented around this tiny, perfect person. "She is incredible," Adrian whispered, touching Elena's tiny hand with one finger. "We made a person. We made the best person." Lily was exhausted, emotional, and happier than she had ever been. Charles came to visit when Elena was 2 weeks old, his first time at their home. He held his granddaughter with surprising gentleness, and when he looked at Adrian and Lily, something in his expression had softened. "She is beautiful," he said quietly. "You have built a good life here. I see that now." It was not a full apology, but it was acknowledgement, and that was enough. Adrian looked at Lily over his father's head, and she saw the relief there, the healing of something that had been broken. They settled into parenthood, learning as they went. Adrian reduced his hours at the nonprofit to be more present at home. Lily went back to work part-time, bringing Elena to the shop when she could, letting her daughter nap surrounded by flowers. Jessica became the favorite aunt, showing up with tiny outfits and offering to babysit constantly. On their second wedding anniversary, after Elena was asleep, they sat in their backyard garden. The flowers Lily had planted were blooming, filling the air with perfume. Adrian pulled her close and they sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars. "You ever regret it?" Lily asked. "Leaving your old life behind, disappointing your family?" "Not for a single second." Adrian kissed her temple. "This is everything I never knew I wanted. You, Elena, the work we do, the life we built. I would not change any of it. Even the sleepless nights and the baby vomit." "Especially the sleepless nights and baby vomit. It means we are alive, really alive, not just going through motions." He turned her face toward his. "You gave me that, Lily. You showed me what it means to live with purpose and passion and love. I will never be able to thank you enough." "You do not have to thank me. You chose this. You made the leap," she smiled. "I was just the woman with the flowers who happened to catch your eye. Best flowers I ever saw, best decision I ever made." He kissed her properly then, full of all the love and commitment and partnership they had built. "Here is to many more years of this." "To many more years," Lily echoed. They stayed in the garden until the night grew cold, talking about their daughter's future, about expanding the shop, about maybe having another child someday, about all the beautiful possibilities that stretched ahead of them. Lily thought about that first moment in the ballroom, when she had nearly dropped her flowers because a handsome groomsman had looked at her like she mattered. She thought about every wedding she had worked since then, every event where she had seen Adrian across the room and felt her heart leap. She had arranged flowers for hundreds of weddings, had seen countless couples promise forever to each other. But she had never truly understood the depth of that promise until she lived it herself, until she built a life with someone who saw her completely and loved her anyway. Someone who had been willing to leave behind everything familiar to build something new and true with her. Elena stirred on the baby monitor, making the small sounds that meant she would wake soon. Adrian stood, offering Lily his hand. They walked back inside together, toward their daughter, toward the life they had created out of courage and love and stubborn determination. And Lily knew with absolute certainty that every flower she had ever arranged, every wedding she had ever worked, had been leading her here. To this man, this family, this perfectly imperfect life. She had been the florist at countless weddings, catching the eye of a millionaire groomsman at event after event, until finally, one of those moments had transformed into everything. Their story was not about wealth or status, or fitting into someone else's idea of what a relationship should look like. It was about two people who found each other across different worlds and chose to build a new world together. It was about love that was worth fighting for, worth changing for, worth building a lifetime around. As they stood over Alina's crib, watching their daughter sleep, Adrian's arm around her waist, Lily felt a contentment so deep it brought tears to her eyes. This was what happily ever after actually looked like. Not perfect, not always easy, but real and full and worth every moment of uncertainty it took to get here. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you too," Adrian replied. "Always." And in the quiet of their home, surrounded by the family they had built and the life they had chosen, that promise felt as permanent and beautiful as any flower Lily had ever arranged. Their love story had started with a glance across a ballroom full of roses, and it would continue for all the years to come, growing deeper and stronger with each passing day. They had found their forever, and it was more beautiful than any wedding Lily had ever designed.